Okay, Chandan, you start. So we will start with magnetism, permanent magnet. Okay. So already you know this thing which they are explaining in the beginning, magnetic poles and bar magnets. You know that magnetic field is defined as mu naught, magnetic field is found as mu naught upon 4 pi into 2 mu upon dq. What is mu here? Mu is magnetic dipole moment, I into area vector. Torque due to magnetic dipole is mu cross b. Torque is equal to the way it is p cross e. Here it is mu cross b. The way it is mb, force is mb. The way it is qe, same way it is mb. Magnetic charge produces magnetic field of mu naught into m upon pi r square. We can assume that magnetic charge exists and that produces a field of mu naught upon 4 pi into m upon r square. Although there is no such magnetic charge existing, but they are going by analogy. They are saying, if I say, because I think we have already proved it before that due to magnetic dipole, due to a current carrying loop, the field comes out to be equal to mu naught upon 4 pi into 2 into magnetic dipole moment divided by r cube. You remember, if it is lying along the axis,
Yes,
if it is lying in the equatorial plane, then it is minus mu naught upon 4 pi into m upon r cube. We know already these things. So he's saying that let us replace the way electric dipole moment is replaced by charge into distance between the charges. Let us do something for this and let us replace it by charge, assumed magnetic charge m multiplied by distance between the magnetic charges, north pole and south pole. We will assume those acting like magnetic dipoles. If we do that way, then due to each single dipole, we can say this is the field mu naught upon 4 pi into m upon r square. So it is just by analogy. Okay. Although there is no such reality in this, means there are no such individual charges possible definitely, but just by analogy we are doing that. What we have in reality proved without analogy, without analogy that we have proved this thing. At a distance r, due to a current carrying wire, we have really proved the magnetic field, and that we know comes out to be equal to 2k into m divided by oblique r cube. But is this oblique r and this r is nearly equal, so it comes out to be this much we have proved, 2k m upon r cube. After that, we any other thing we did not prove much, but we can understand that all other square shapes, etc., those things, I think I proved for such shape also, if you remember. For such shape I have proved probably in
yes,
this and from that I said that by this we can form any other shape. If we are able to prove for this shape, then from that we can find out for any other shape. For this shape I found in the equatorial plane also, or in the same plane containing this loop, and that comes out to be equal to minus k into m by r cube. And after that I said that if it is valid for this, then all other shapes, whatever shape you may choose, all other shapes can be taken into elemental such shapes. Anyway, those things you can revise again, but I'm not going into those. I'm telling that, okay, we can assume now we want to do one more thing. We want to replace it by m into d. If we do that, then this m will represent the magnetic pole strength of, or we can say magnetic charge in the north pole. Okay, so current carrying loop acts like a equivalent magnetic dipole, means it can be replaced by north and the south pole. It can be replaced by a bar magnet. Why bar magnet acts like a current carrying? Why it acts like a current carrying loop? The reason is explained here by him here. See this diagram here. Let's say this is a bar magnet. Is he talking it as a, yes, he is saying bar magnet, cylindrical bar magnet. So in cylindrical bar magnet, we can see that at the surface, actually there is no current carrying loop in this, but because there are several such tiny magnet micromagnets within the atoms, when the electrons are revolving, if the electrons are revolving in such a way that there are unpaired electrons and electron one electron revolves in such a way so that its magnetic field is not cancelled. Means all these are in same direction only. So these are all supporting each other. These all electrons are supporting each other. They are revolving in such a way. So overall resultant of such magnetic small dipoles will be a big magnetic dipole. I told you that if I have a single dipole like this, I can assume it to be composed of several small current carrying loops. And then internally the net current will come out to be zero. Overall current will remain uncancelled only at the surface. Why internally it becomes zero? I have given you such example. Let me give example with square. It will be easy to understand from square. Let's say this carries in this way current and this carries current in this way. Then in the middle branch, current in the first and the current in the two, they are cancelling each other. If I take both the currents in loops to be equal, it will just carry zero current. And if it carries zero current, then it will be like a single bigger current carrying loop. So similarly, small loops when keep on connecting with each other. And if all these loops will carry current in the same direction, means same clockwise, then overall what we get? Then we get a bigger loop carrying current in clockwise direction. Same way happens in magnet. Each atom is, let us say, carrying current in one particular direction. Then effect of that is overall the big current will appear to be there on the surface of that magnet. And that current will be like this way, it will be there in the surface. So this cylindrical bar magnet acts like a solenoid. In solenoid also current is there in the surface. In this also current appears to be there in the surface. This is not the extra current. This is the current due to the motion of electrons around the nucleus. That current we are talking about. It is not some extra current which is flowing in the bar magnet. Not like that. It is a bar magnet. When we hold it in our hand, then obviously we don't get shocked because there is no surface current flowing in it. But although there is no surface extra surface current flowing, but because of the motion of electrons around the corresponding nuclei, that will also result in effective surface current. It will be like a effectively automatically it will be inside the bar magnet only. We call it bonded current also sometimes. Okay, so that bonded current will be existing inside only. All right. So fine. Next we have then just this formula they are giving then. That let the magnetic length means the length, effective length from north to the south pole. If that is equal to 2L, then magnetic dipole moment can also be defined as, other than defining it as I into area, we can also define it as M into small 2A into small m into L. The way we say Q into 2A, here L 2L they are calling it 2L, so they are writing it as 2M into L. M is magnetic charge. How to find out the magnetic charge value? Can we find out the magnetic moment? Yes, we can find the magnetic moment. How to find the magnetic moment? By finding out the volume of the bar magnet, total volume, and per unit volume, how many such current carrying loops are there, and what is magnetic dipole moment of one current carrying loop. And I think in modern physics, we already found out what is the magnetic dipole moment due to single current carrying electron, which is moving in a closed loop. If electron is moving in a closed loop, do you know what is the current due to that? Current will become charged per time. Then into area will give us magnetic dipole moment. So we can find out magnetic dipole moment of individual atoms. Then if I know how many atoms are there in one volume, per unit volume, and let us say all those magnetic dipole moments are acting in one particular direction only, and they are supporting each other. Always they will not be supporting each other. Sometimes one atom may be carrying in this one direction and other may be carrying in opposite direction. But let us say somehow all of those support each other. Means there are mechanisms. There are mechanisms to find out the net magnetic dipole moment starting from the individual magnetic dipole moment. Although reality is much different. Means in reality so many things will be happening. Like first of all, they don't have just orbital magnetic moment. They have also spin magnetic moment. What is the meaning of spin magnetic moment? For example, Earth revolves not only around the Earth is not only rotating around the sun. Earth is also revolving around its own axis. So because of revolution around its own axis, also it has some electron also revolves around its own axis, and as a result, it has also some magnetic moment, which we call as spin magnetic moment. So that also plays a role. The spin magnetic moment also may be in different directions. Okay, actually, it is not like a simple rotation. It is something quantum mechanical concept. So we cannot think as if it is just a rotation the way Earth rotates. It is somewhat different. How it happens, what is there, what is happening there in deep inside electron, nobody knows. But okay, we define some, we give it some angular momentum, and that will be that angular momentum or the magnetic moment of the electron because of its spin that is discrete. Discrete means it is quantized. It is quantized only. It cannot have any random value. It is just quantized only. Anyway, so overall, anyway, we can find out the magnetic moment somehow, and then we can find out the magnetic moment per unit volume. From there, we can get the total magnetic moment. After getting total magnetic moment, we will equate with mass, m charge, magnetic charge into distance between the charges. Then we can get the effective pole strength from there. Small m is called as magnetic charge, or it is also called as pole strength, right? So now we can find out torque by another way also. We found torque by m cross b, but now we can find out torque by mb this way also, the way we used to do before. Those formula will be working here as it is. For the charges, we used to find like this only, QE, and then finding out the due to couple, QE into 2L sine theta. Same way we can say M into B into 2L sine theta. Same formula will be valid here also, where small m is pole strength or the magnetic charge. There is nothing like magnetic charge. It is equivalent magnetic charge, we can say. Just assume that if it exists. So there is no real in reality magnetic charge, because if in reality some magnetic charge may be existing, then the field from all sides will be in one direction only. But that does not happen. Magnetic field lines form closed loop. Inside they are from south to north, outside they are from north to south. So they are forming a closed loop, unlike electrostatic field. Now we want to find out the magnetic field due to the bar magnet. So now they are using the formula of the way we do for normal
axial position.
That way they are finding, they are writing it as mu naught upon. I have already proved it that due to magnetic dipole moment m, the formula comes out to be this. I proved it by a different way. I proved it by not by taking magnetic charges. I proved it by taking small current carrying loops, and from that I found it. So this will be valid. We can find it from that method, and in fact that is better also. Why? Because in reality there are no magnetic charges, but we need not assume magnetic charges to prove this formula. This formula we can prove without assuming magnetic charges. Only thing which should be valid is d must be very, very large as compared to the length. Then only it is valid. That must always be there. Here they are making that assumption also. Next, broadside. Okay, think these positions if you want. End-on position. What we call as end-on position. I think axial position, and broadside on position is equatorial position. Broadside on is equatorial, and end on is axial position. So what is the field in axial position? This one. What is the field in the other position? That is this one. You know already this formula, right?
Sir.
This is okay. Next comes our magnetic scalar potential due to magnetic dipole. So magnetic scalar potential. First of all, we understand that magnetic field is not a conservative field. It is a non-conservative field. And for non-conservative field, normally we don't define such things like potential energy.
Sir,
But
magnetic moment directs south to north, sir.
Magnetic moment is directed from negative charge to positive charge. Now south to north.
Okay.
Negative is south and positive is north. From south to north will be magnetic dipole moment. Okay. So magnetic scalar potential. First of all, we know that potential should be defined for conservative fields, and magnetic field is not conservative. Why it is not conservative? Because it forms closed loops. But if I have a magnet, and I know that I am permanently remaining outside the magnet, this is north and this is south. Let us say here magnetic field lines are coming from north to south in this way, and I'm not going inside. I'm just staying outside only. And then I'm bringing a small magnet here, north south this way, and I'm holding this north pole and I'm bringing it in one closed loop maybe. Then in that case, what will be the work done on this in the closed loop? As long as I'm staying outside, I'm not allowed to enter inside the magnet. Then I think work done in the closed loop in this case also will come out to be 0. Reason? I'm not able to go around the closed loop. If I go around the closed loop, then work done will come out to be non-zero. Then there will be net work done. Okay, because m into b, m is the magnetic charge, into b, like q into e, same way m into b. M into b into dot dl integral in the closed loop, it will be non-zero if I am able to allow to go inside the magnet. But can I go inside the magnet? No. If I cannot go inside the magnet and I have to stay outside the magnet, and then I go in a closed loop, then work done by the magnetic field will also be 0. So for such cases where we are not allowed to enter inside the magnet, then we can define such a magnetic scalar potential, etc. And that will come by analogy. It will come out to be in the same way as we got our electrical potential. Same formula. Electrical potential KQ by R. This will become K into magnetic charge divided by R. So what is magnetic charge? Magnetic charge we can find out by equating magnetic moment. We will find out by two ways. One way to find magnetic moment will be this magnetic charge multiplied by the effective length. And length of magnet everybody can find out. Magnetic moment they may have given us. Then we can find out the pole strength. Once we do that, then we can find out the magnetic pole strength or magnetic charge, same thing. Pole strength or the magnetic charge is same thing. I'm using this interchangeably. Okay, you can write it down somewhere. If this was pole strength and magnetic charge, these are equivalent. You can write it down. Now, thing is, where was I? So means we are relating here again, and we are relating it with electrostatics, and then we are defining the potential the way we defined before. We defined potential due to magnetic dipole used to be potential due to magnetic dipole formula. I am not remembering exactly. I think Kp by
Only by R, sir.
Kp by R square.
No, sir. Only R.
How can it be only R? That is Kq by R. But when it is dipole, then I think it is Kp by R square.
Q only, sir. I'm saying Q.
No, in Q it is Kq by R, but for dipole moment, due to complete dipole, it is Kp by R. Kp by R magnitude wise, obviously, because it is not a vector. That is the potential. So here it will become Km by R square, where K in this case will be mu naught by 4 pi. But which M I have to take? Understand now. If I have magnetic dipole moment placed in this way, then I am talking about in the same direction as the magnetic dipole moment. If I have a point at a distance R, in that place the potential will be Km by R square. But in the equatorial plane, it will be 0. Reason? In the equatorial plane, both the magnetic charges, the negative magnetic charge that is the south pole and the positive magnetic charge that is the north pole, both are equidistant. So net potential in this place will come out to be, here it will be 0. In this place it will be 0. In this place here. But in the axial plane, at a point P, at a distance small r, there it will not be 0. And that formula we are writing as Km by R square. But if we want to ask at any other position, then how to find? Then I told you before also, take the component of M in that direction. That will come out to be M cos theta. Then it will become K M cos theta by R square. Understood? In general, if I have to say, I will say like this. K M dot R cap upon R square. R cap means unit vector in the direction of the point, position vector of the point where we want to find out the magnetic field in the direction of R bar. Yes. Okay. So we are getting again by analogy only. Magnetic field due to dipole. We already know. Do you want to say again all those things as same as before? No difference at all. Same as before. Terrestrial magnetism. This thing is somewhat to be required to be told. Terrestrial magnetism is required to be told. And one more thing here, we should also know that how to find out magnetic dipole moment. Magnetic moment is, I have discussed before, but mind again. If a charged body is rotating, around its axis with angular velocity omega, and we know the angular momentum, then magnetic dipole moment upon angular momentum, magnitude
Q by
2m. It has Q by 2m formula. That is the formula for that. Okay. So this formula is valid only when we are discussing about some angular momentums of bigger bodies. But when we are discussing about something which is like spin, some small things, spin, angular momentum, etc., then these things will not be valid. Those are because those are only quantized things, and those are different, something different. Those are something different. Okay. So these are only for macroscopic phenomena, not for microscopic phenomena. Anyway, now come to this terrestrial magnetism. Terrestrial means Earth related. Earth related magnetism is if we have a this thing here in NCERT, it is given in a different way. In HC Verma, it is given in a different way. So you can read NCERT also once how they are giving in NCERT. Just means name is different, concept is same, concept is not different. We can assume that within our Earth there is a magnet here. Small magnet is there within the core of the Earth, and which has a north pole here and south pole here. The north of the magnet is actually closer to our geographic south pole. North pole is closer to the geographic south pole, and south pole of the magnet of Earth is actually close to geographic north.
Noted.
Sir,
Rama. Playboy.
hello, hello,
Hello.
sir. Okay.
Audible, sir. Now.
Geomagnetic. Can you hear the? Can you see the screen or not?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Geomagnetic north pole. So the one which is closer to the, this is north pole, This is also called as North Pole, but we are calling it as geomagnetic North Pole. This is geographic North Pole. This is geographic South Pole, and this is called as geomagnetic South Pole. Which is geomagnetic South Pole? How to tell which is South Pole? And how to, okay, first of all, how to tell North and the South Pole? Do you know about that or not? How do we know this is North Pole or this is South Pole? What is so special in this axis? Which axis is this? This is the axis about which Earth revolves. That is one axis here. That is a geography that is consisting of geographic North and geographic South. Earth is rotating about this axis. The axis of the axis of rotation we can call as geographic axis. Okay, axis of rotation. And geomagnetic is, as the name suggests, axis along which the magnet lies. The magnet of the Earth has a magnet inside the core. We can say inside the core there's some iron is there, and there are some ions. And I think because of those presence of those ions, they rotate in such a way, so that they produce the moving ions produce the magnetic currents, so the magnetic fields. So that this red axis is the magnetic axis here. This is the magnetic axis, and this sky blue is geographic axis. Now we are calling one as a North Pole and the other, this is South Pole here. Normally what we call North and South, but there's a magnetic North and magnetic South, geomagnetic North or geomagnetic South also we are calling it. That is here N and S. Let us give a small m under it to represent magnetic. But remember, sorry, not N and S, sorry, it should be S. Geomagnetic North here and geomagnetic South here. But remember, South is close to North Pole, and the south of the magnet inside is close to the North axis, North Pole, north of the axis. Magnetic field lines will depend on not geographic North. It will depend on how the magnet is inside it. So the magnet has this side as North. So from here the magnetic field lines will be coming out in this way. These are coming out from here. And then finally these are entering South, magnetic South, like this. Is it okay? And the angle between these two axes is 11.5 degrees. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, here, how to explain? I'm thinking that. Okay, I will explain verbally. If you are not understanding, then I will show you something. I will have to maybe start my video and I have to show you the way we teach in class, that way. But first of all, I will tell you, maybe you will understand this way only. Let me add one page here. If I have a axis, this is axis, and imagine we are taking a plane. And that plane is cutting this. That plane is cutting this earth, while this plane cuts this earth. Then what kind of shape it will be forming on the earth? Will it be forming this kind of shape or not? Semicircle.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
This semicircular shape is called as we call it as longitude. I don't know you know about it or not, but we call it as longitude. And this plane itself is called as meridian. What is meaning of meridian? Plane, or we can say vertical plane. Or I think if I say vertical plane is same thing. If I don't say vertical plane, but if I simply say plane passing through, it will automatically be vertical plane actually. Plane passing through axis of Earth is called as meridian. Now, whether it is vertical or not, obviously, if it is passing through the axis of Earth, then it will automatically become vertical or not. Any plane passing through the center of Earth. If I take a plane and I pass it through the center of the Earth, then will it become vertical plane or not?
Vertical plane. No.
Any plane passing through center of Earth, any plane passing through center of Earth will be vertical plane. Any plane passing through center of Earth will be vertical plane. First, you tell me, is it true or not? If a person is standing here, then he will be lying in this plane. If a person is standing here, then this plane is also that only. Wait a second, person will be standing in which place? Person will be standing on this place. Person will be standing here on this longitude. On this place, the person will be standing here. Right? That person will be, if he's standing, is lying in the same plane, in this meridian only. And that meridian is a plane passing through the center. Is it understood or not?
Once more.
Any plane which passes through the center, is it vertical or not?
Yes, sir.
That is what I am telling you to understand. What else you want with them? One more smooth. This only I'm saying. Have you understood this thing that a plane which passes through the center, is it vertical or not? Remaining is name. It is just a name. Meridian is a name given to that plane. What we call that plane as? Meridian. It is just a name for given to that. And that plane cuts the Earth. While it cuts the Earth, it forms a circle. And that circle is called as longitude. What we call that circle as? Longitude. But how many such axes can be there through which the vertical plane can pass? Mainly there are two important axes. One axis is important, which is magnetic axis, and other is important, which is geographic axis. Accordingly, meridian is also defined in two ways. There can be two types of meridians. There are two types of. There are two types of meridian. Geographic meridian. Magnetic meridian. Geographic meridian, magnetic meridian. There are two meridians, geographic and magnetic meridian. And these are these two meridians are there. All right. One passing through the geographic axis and another passing through the magnetic axis. One passing through the geographic axis and another passing through the magnetic axis. And fine. And wait, what else I have to explain? So where this meridian cuts the Earth, that is that is called as longitude. Where this is cutting the earth, that is called as longitude. Is it okay? Where it is cutting the earth, that is called as longitude. So there could be magnetic longitude and there could be geographic longitude. Okay. Now, if I rotate this plane, then it will be cutting in different places, and in each place where it is cutting, that place will be giving us corresponding
longitude.
meridian, corresponding longitude, corresponding meridian. Means in different places the meridian will be in different direction, we can say. If I draw both the meridians here, will both the longitudes or both the meridians, will this be in the same line or different lines along the different curves? Longitude will be in the same curve or this will be in different curves? Think about it.
Different curves.
Different curve.
This will be different because one has this blue axis and one has this red axis, pink axis, and this cyan axis or the light blue axis. So these are in different directions. This will not be in the same direction. If I look from the surface of the earth, this will be in different directions, right? So while a person is standing on the earth here on the surface of the earth, if he says this side is north and this is south, what does he mean by saying this side is north and this is south? What you get idea from that? First of all, when he says this is north and this is south, he means geographic north. By default, we call geographic north as north and geographic south as south. And it means this line, which is drawing on the surface of earth, that line is, we can say, the line representing meridian, vertical. If I take a line passing through this, then that, if I take a vertical plane passing through this, then that plane will also be geographic meridian. That place will also be geographic meridian. Okay, that place will also be geographic meridian. I think I need to show you video also. Let me show something. I'm not able to explain it this way. I have to some hand gestures I have to make. Okay, I will try, and after that I will come back to this. Let me show you video. Can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I will try to explain somewhat here. It is becoming difficult for me to explain this thing, but I will try.
Sir, you are sure. It means some part is going, coming, sir.
No, wait a second. Let me remove the virtual background. Then you can see completely. Now you can see everything, I think, in my room.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So, wait a second. Let me. Yes, sir. I will try to show you something here. So, first of all, you have to imagine. Okay, imagine that. Let us say you are in a room, you will be in some room, and if I ask you where's the north direction, so you will say north is in this side. Mean horizontally, you will point your finger in some direction, right? You will point your finger in horizontally in some direction, and you will say that is north. And opposite of north will be south. So in this room, let me imagine that although it is becoming difficult to this also because you cannot see the whole room, so it will be difficult for me to explain. Okay, you imagine in your own room, you imagine that there is one direction pointing north and another direction which is opposite to that is pointing south. So my one hand is pointing north and the other hand is pointing south. What does this north and south mean? Both of these directions are horizontally only I am representing. These are both horizontal directions. So actually these mean that if I keep on going towards north, like this only, then I will be reaching at the North Pole. And if I keep on going towards south this way, then I will be reaching the South Pole. Continuously, if I keep on going in one particular direction, straight direction only. So if I'm on the globe, let us say I'm on the globe, and I'm moving, a small ant is moving on the globe, and that ant is going continuously along the longitude, then that ant will be reaching in the North Pole or not? That ant will also be in the North Pole. So imagine that way only. Imagine we are on this big globe. This Earth is a real globe, let us say, and somebody is looking at us from outside, then we will be like ant. And as we keep on moving towards north only, then we will be moving along that line, that longitudinal line. and then finally we will be reaching the North Pole if we keep on moving along that straight line path. So always we will be finding that this is the north direction, right? And if somebody has told us that which is the north direction exactly, we should be knowing which is the north direction. Now it is not easy to tell the north direction also, because we find out the north direction by taking that magnetic compass. That compass, that needle is there in that compass, that needle points in one particular direction, and we say that this is north. But that does not point towards the north. How can that point towards the north? That has to point towards magnetic field, and magnetic field will be in the magnetic meridian. That will not be in the geographic meridian. So by using compass, we get idea of magnetic north and magnetic south, but we cannot not get idea of geographic north and geographic south from that. But if we have to go to magnetic north pole and we have to go to magnetic south pole, then that needle will be enough for us. We will carry that needle with us. And once the needle is pointing in one particular direction, we will keep on heading in that direction. Okay. And if we keep on moving in that particular straight line always, then we will be finally reaching the magnetic north pole. That we will be reaching the magnetic north pole. So, okay, understand one thing now, that this direction in which we are going, although we are pointing in just in a one particular direction, straight line only, but when we are moving on the earth, then we are moving along a curve. So we are moving along which direction? We are moving along the longitude. Are we moving along the longitude or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We are moving along the longitude. So here this north and south, when we are saying this is north and this is south, then that is also giving us the direction of the geographic north and geographic south. If I take a line and I draw it, maybe I'm drawing a line, I'm moving in this direction and I'm drawing a line of my path followed here. That line will appear to be like a horizontal line only. It will appear like a straight line. But we know we are on the curved surface. We are on the surface of actually that is a curve. But locally it appears like a straight line. Imagine that straight line only, no problem. That straight line which we are representing, the north and south, that straight line which is representing north and south. If I take that straight line and I take a vertical plane passing through that straight line, that plane will also pass through the axis of the earth. And which axis of the earth it will pass through? If it is geographic north and geographic south line, if the line which I am drawing here, that line is geographic north and geographic south line, then it will be passing through the geographic north and geographic south pole, and that will be passing through that meridian will be also geographic. That meridian will be called as geographic meridian. On the other hand, if I have magnetic needle and that magnetic needle is pointing in one particular direction, let us say this is the needle, this pen is this is like needle, and this is pointing in this direction. Let's say it is in this direction, then that is the north pole. Okay, and now I'm taking a vertical plane passing through this, and that will also go through the center of earth. That vertical plane will be which meridian? That will be magnetic meridian, because it is magnetic needle. Imagine it is needle of compass, and it is now, it will, if I try to move it in any one particular direction also, it will not be stable in that. Finally, it will again come to the magnetic north direction only. So once it is stable in that particular orientation, and then I am taking a vertical plane passing through this, and that passes through the center of the earth also, then that thing is, that meridian is which meridian? That is magnetic meridian. So how to find out the magnetic meridian? By simply taking a compass in your hand and see in which direction the needle is pointing. And once you know in which direction the needle is pointing, then you can find out that magnetic meridian, because that will be just vertical plane passing through it. That will be the magnetic meridian. Right. One more thing I would like to say here. Compass has, have you seen compass? In compass, the needle is free to rotate in horizontal plane. Let us say my hand is that compass here, and this is the needle of the compass. Then this will be free to rotate in the horizontal plane. But if I make the compass arrange in a vertical plane, if I arrange it in a vertical plane, and now I set the needle free to rotate in one particular direction, in which direction needle will rest in that case? In which direction it will be finally coming to rest? In horizontal, if it is free to rotate in a horizontal plane, then it is coming to rest in one particular direction, and that direction is giving us north and south, magnetic north and magnetic south. But if I keep it in a vertical plane, and now I am making it free to rotate, then in which direction it will be finally coming to rest? Any idea? It will be coming to rest.
Sir, in some cross.
In some oblique direction. Which oblique direction that will be? How to find that oblique direction? That oblique direction will be changing from place to place. In one place it will be one direction, in another place it will be another direction. I am sure about two places at least. If I go to magnetic north, then there the magnetic field will be. If I go to geomagnetic north, but if I go to the geomagnetic north pole and I see downwards, what do I see there? If I see downwards, I will be seeing the south pole towards me, right? Because I told you, towards the magnetic north, towards the geographic north, there is a magnetic south. So if I look downwards there at the pole, if I'm looking downwards, then I will be looking at magnetic south coming towards me. If magnetic south is towards me, then magnetic field lines will be entering towards it. So in the magnetic north pole or magnetic south pole, the magnetic field lines will be perpendicular. In one place it will be perpendicularly inwards, in other place it will be perpendicularly outwards. In which place? In magnetic north and magnetic south. So if I bring this needle and I take it there, and this compass needle, I'm placing the compass in a vertical plane, not in a horizontal plane. I'm placing it in a vertical plane. Then the needle there will become exactly vertical. It will be pointing in vertical direction. Is that clear? It will be pointing in vertical direction, right or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
This compass, when we place it in a horizontal plane, we call it compass. But when we keep it like this, we call it dip circle. What we call it? Dip circle. I will tell you why we call it dip circle. I will tell you the reason behind that. But right now I am giving you a term. We call it dip circle. Actually, the real shape of dip circle is slightly different. It may be a little bigger than the compass normally you see. That is a small device only, and that dip circle may be a little bit big, and its construction may also be somewhat different. But for you, it is enough to think in this way only, that if you take a compass and you just put it in a vertical plane, for you it is just a dip circle. You think as if it is a dip circle. So once you know that in this dip circle is what? Dip circle is just a compass in a, compass in a vertical plane. For you, it is a compass in a vertical plane, where needle is free to rotate about horizontal axis, but it is rotating in a vertical plane. Then it will adjust itself in the direction of net magnetic field. Net vertical magnetic field, sorry. It will adjust itself in the, sorry, not vertical. It will be adjusting itself in the direction of not vertical also, and not net magnetic field also. Now I have to tell you something, maybe on paper also I have to draw something. There you will be understanding a little bit. One thing I would like to say here, if I am placing vertical plane, how many vertical planes can we have? We can have infinite vertical planes. My hand is now also in vertical plane, now also it is in vertical plane, now also it is in vertical plane. I can rotate it and I can get so many vertical planes. Out of these several infinite vertical planes, there are two vertical planes important for us. One of those vertical planes is which is passing through the geographic axis, that vertical plane that we call as the geographic meridian, and another vertical plane is important for us, which is magnetic meridian, which is passing through the magnetic axis. So let us think about magnetic right now. If we are in the magnetic vertical plane, and that is magnetic meridian, which is passing through the magnetic axis, let us say we are in that vertical plane, and we are taking our compass and we are putting it in that vertical plane. If we are doing that, then that needle finally definitely will be resting in net magnetic field direction. Where it will be resting? It will be resting in net magnetic field direction. Why the needle points in the net magnetic field direction? First of all, if you are forgetting it, let me remind you. Do you know what is the torque acting on a magnetic dipole? Torque on a magnetic dipole, M cross B. M cross B or not? So
Yes,
M represents magnetic moment here. B represents the field, external field. When M cross B will become 0, when M cross B will become 0, then torque acting on the needle will become 0. So that will happen when M and B are either making 180 angle or angle. But if it has to be stable equilibrium, then it has to be exactly only 0 degree angle.
0 degrees.
Therefore, the magnetic needle has tendency to point in the direction of magnetic field. So understand one thing. I'm in a vertical plane. Which vertical plane I know? I'm in a special vertical plane, which is also magnetic meridian, in which the magnetic field lines are existing actually. That magnetic meridian. Now I'm putting that our needle in that plane, vertical plane. Then this needle will be finally resting in one particular direction. That direction will be the direction of net magnetic field. Is that clear? That will be the direction of net magnetic field. So when needle will be resting in the direction of net magnetic field, again I am saying it will be resting in the direction of net magnetic field if first of all we are taking this compass in the vertical plane, or dip circle we are taking, and that is in vertical plane, and that plane of dip circle should be lying in magnetic meridian. Where it should be lying? It should be lying in the magnetic meridian. Okay, so magnetic meridian tells us several things. It tells us one thing, that if I have a vertical plane passing through the magnetic meridian, then passing through the magnetic axis, then that will be magnetic meridian. That is one thing. Another thing I can think in this way: if I have a compass and that compass is pointing in this particular direction, and I take a vertical plane through this, then that is also a magnetic meridian. Okay. So this is practical way. Practically, if I have to find out, I will not go to the axis of the earth to see where is the magnetic axis. That way I cannot find out. But by holding compass in my hand, I can tell that where is the magnetic meridian. That is very simple to find out. Geographic meridian is not easy to find out, but this magnetic is easy to find out. Geographic also, I will tell you one way to find out the geographic meridian, but this is easy to find out magnetic meridian. Anyway, after finding magnetic meridian, I am certain about one thing, that the magnetic field lines, if you draw the imaginary magnetic field lines around the earth, those magnetic field lines will be lying in the plane of magnetic meridian. Where they will be lying? They will be lying in the plane of magnetic meridian. Is that point clear or not? Think about it. I am saying this thing, that magnetic field lines will be lying in the plane of magnetic meridian. The magnetic field lines due to earth will be lying in the plane of magnetic meridian. Is that right or not?
Yes, sir.
Imagine
Yes, sir.
the magnet at the axis of the earth. Imagine the magnet at the axis of the earth. Now draw the magnetic field lines. Draw imaginary magnetic field lines around it. When you draw those magnetic field lines, those will be definitely passing through the axis only. And if those are passing through the axis, and if you take that entire plane, that plane is only called as magnetic meridian also. If you take the entire plane containing the magnetic field lines, if you take the entire plane containing the magnetic field lines, that plane will already be passing through the axis of the magnetic axis of the earth. Then that will be called as magnetic meridian only. So if somebody tells me that the magnetic field line is lying in this plane, then I can tell what is the magnetic meridian, in which direction the magnetic meridian is, or where is the magnetic meridian. I can tell it. Okay. Now, having understood these things, how to find out the net direction of magnetic field? I told you, take the dip circle, try to rotate it in different planes, and in one plane where it is giving us maximum possible. Now I think I have to show you something in diagram also. Wait a second, let me draw something in diagram. I have to show something here, and then that will make the things clear further. Or wait a second, today I think I can do, I will use bold. That will be better, it seems. Today bold will be better. I will bring one bold here and I will explain in that. Just wait for some time. How to keep it right. I will try to explain you in the bold little bit if it is understood. Let me see once. Can you see the bold? But it is very small, I think, for you, right?
Yes,
I should make it large.
Yes.
Wait a second, let me try to bring it closer. Is it okay?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, let us say we have one axis here. These are the axes. This is the net magnetic field direction here. Net magnetic field direction is here along this side. Okay. And it has one component which is horizontal, BH. Another component which is vertical, let us call it BV. Vertical component is BV. Now, this needle will be pointing in the direction of net magnetic field if this plane, XY plane, is magnetic meridian, if it is magnetic meridian, means then this will be the net magnetic field direction here. It will be net magnetic field, and needle will be pointing in this direction. And that angle made by the needle with horizontal, we call it as, I will represent it by delta, we call it as angle of dip. What we call delta as? Delta is angle of dip. Angle of dip it is. Just a name given to it, angle of dip. Now, if I take any other plane, if I let us say now I'm placing that dip circle. If I'm placing the dip circle in any other plane, then will I get the net magnetic field in that plane also? No, I will not be getting that net magnetic field in that plane. There will be one component of magnetic field acting that side. Then, but what will not change? If I take any other vertical plane, then vertical component of magnetic field in any other plane will also remain same. But what will change? The component of this B in that plane will change, and component of BH in that plane will change. Now here also I am not able to explain clearly. Okay, wait a second. I think with rather than board, it will be better if I draw some diagrams. I think you will understand from there only. Just I will try, and if you don't understand, you let me know. But you will understand, I think. Wait a second. Let me stop this, and I will share the screen again. Yes. So let us say we have three axes I am taking here, and magnetic field is in this direction, which is not in x-axis direction, not in y-axis direction, not in z-axis direction, some other direction. Y-axis is the vertically upwards axis here, and magnetic field is pointing little bit in downward direction. Okay. Actually, magnetic field lines always lie in which plane? If this meridian is magnetic meridian, if it is magnetic meridian, then magnetic north south will be here, magnetic north will be here, and the field lines will be coming from south, and these will be going towards coming from north, magnetic north, and going towards magnetic south. This way these will be going. And but these magnetic field lines will always be lying in, this will be lying in the plane of magnetic meridian. That point is clear. The magnetic field lines will be lying in the plane of magnetic meridian. And on this earth somewhere, you are in some room. Now, if you are in some place here in this earth, you will not be able to, your axis may be in different direction, means these may not be in the direction of magnetic field. You may choose some random axis. For example, you are choosing some axis like this, x-axis side, y upwards, z in downward direction. Y vertically upwards, z in horizontal, x and z are horizontal axis. Now this magnetic field B will have two horizontal components, because Bx is also horizontal and By is also horizontal. How many components it has in horizontal direction? Two horizontal components. And how many vertical components it has? One only vertical component. What is the vertical component of this? This is B vertical. Let us call it B vertical. And how many horizontal components it has? It has two horizontal components. One is x and one is z. B is z and bx. What is the net horizontal component actually? Net horizontal component will be resultant of these two. Let us call it as BH.
XZ plane.
So what is B? B is becoming BH square plus B vertical square under the root. That is in net B. What is that which is the direction of magnetic meridian? Can you tell me where is the magnetic meridian here? Magnetic meridian will be
Total B.
Total, yes, in the direction, in the total B, but one line cannot tell us plane. I am asking for the plane. Where is that plane? Plane means two lines. One you take B and another you take vertical line. Vertical line is Y line. Line of Y is vertical line, and line of B is the net magnetic field line. So magnetic meridian will be passing in the Y and if I draw a plane which contains both y as well as b, net b, then that plane will be magnetic meridian plane. That plane will be the plane of magnetic meridian. Is it right or not?
Yes, sir.
This plane here, let me wait, I will try to draw it. And this plane here, if I take no, this plane, I think it looks like that only. This plane is that plane. This plane on extending it will pass through. On extending it will also pass through
Net B.
net B also. This, so it is passing through net B also on extending. This is that plane. So this plane contains what? This plane is magnetic meridian. This plane which I have drawn, magnetic meridian. It is way better than bold, I think. But only thing is there are certain things, certain hand gestures and certain things which I want to explain. In those it is lacking, but otherwise there are so many good features also. So many things I can do here, which I cannot do even on the board. Magnetic meridians. So in this one meridian only, magnetic meridian. So it contains y-axis, the vertical axis, and vertical line, and it also contains horizontal component of the net magnetic field, and it also contains the net magnetic field. Three things it contains. The horizontal also it contains. How to find out this BH? This BH I can find out by taking a compass. Let me show a diagram here indicating compass here. Let me represent this. For example, let it be compass here. If it is compass, and in this compass there is a needle, and that needle is maybe, this is the needle. That needle will be pointing in which direction? That needle definitely will be pointing in BH direction, because this cannot point in net B direction. Why can it not point in the net B direction? Because this,
horizontal direction.
It is
because it is only
confined
free
into
to moving.
horizontal plane.
Yes, it is confined in horizontal plane, so it will point in which direction? It will point in BH direction. Once it has pointed in BH direction, can we tell what is the direction of net vertical or not? Yes, I can tell. Sorry, the magnetic meridian, I can tell where is the magnetic meridian. I can find out the magnetic meridian in that, because I know BH and I know vertical. Vertical, we always know we will drop something, it will fall downwards. That is the vertical. And BH we know. Once we know these two axes, then I can join these. I can make a plane out of these two lines, and I will get a plane, right? So it is correct that we can just find out by BH only. But if we know B, then also much better. But how will we find out the net B, in which direction net B lies? How to find out that? After this, what I will do, I will take a compass in vertical plane. Let me take the compass in vertical plane, then I'll have to see what happens then. Let us say this compass is here now, and I am trying to wait a second, I cannot. Obliquely means it is a circle only. This is a circle, vertical circle only. But because I want to keep this circle in deep and in the vertical, in the magnetic meridian, so it will look like oblique, because we are looking at an angle. Understood what I'm saying here? It is, we are looking at an angle. It is y-axis, and this is our, let us say, BH side. This is BH. BH is in this direction, and this is vertically downwards, and then this was B vertical, then net B will be in this direction. See, like this here. So in which direction the the magnetic needle will be pointing now? If I place it here, the magnetic needle will be pointing in this direction. And this will be called as delta, which I will represent it delta. I don't know SC Verma how he is representing. Or let us see SC Verma, because we are following that. So why don't we just use his notation only? How is he representing angle of dip?
Delta.
Delta only, I think, huh? Apparent dip, and delta is the true dip. Delta only is representing. Good. D for delta, D for dip. So delta only. So this is the angle of dip. Angle of dip, as the name suggests, how much angle dip means downside. Dip is, I think you know, dip is something related to down. So how much down it is as compared to horizontal. how much that is called as angle of dip. Okay, that is delta if it is BH and it is the net B. But let us say I'm taking this dip circle and I'm placing it in another plane. Which plane? Let me give you another plane. Maybe I can take XY plane. Take that dip circle once again, but this time it is in different plane, and that is our y-axis. This is our x-axis, y-axis. Now it is in xy plane. Now you tell me, if it is in xy plane, then what will be the net magnetic field lying in xy plane? Will it be total? No, it will be one component of that. What that will be? That component will be how much? I think you can tell from here clearly that if I take one line from here to this side here, up to this corner, can you see this here? This line here. This will be, this is net B. If I take its component, if I take the component of net B in the xy plane, that will be the B coming out to be here, somewhere here in this side, right? So means it will be resultant of, we can say Bx. It will be resultant of Bx and B vertical. Resultant of these two, that will be giving us, it will be B, not actual B, it will be B dash, apparent B in that plane. It will be apparent net B in that plane. So in this case, where will be our magnetic needle now? Our magnetic needle will be now pointing, it has no option, but it has to point in the direction of apparent net field in that plane. So apparently net field is in this plane, is in this direction, and it will be pointing in this direction. So because it is apparent but not actual, this will be also called as a delta dash, apparent angle of dip, delta dash. So can you find out what is the relation between the apparent angle of dip, delta dash, and the real angle of dip? We can find out by this simple way. I will start with Pythagoras theorem, and from there I will derive it. Start with Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras theorem says that BH square plus B vertical square BH square plus B vertical square is equal to B square, I think, right? And I want cos delta, tan delta. Tan delta, if I want, then I will get B. Tan delta is better, I think. Tan delta can be obtained easily. All right. First of all, okay, I think I can start tan delta. What is tan delta? Tan delta is BH divided by B vertical. That is tan delta. What is tan delta dash? That will be B dash, apparent horizontal field. That BX here will become B dash H. It will be like apparent horizontal field in XY plane. It is apparent horizontal field in apparent. Actually, it is not apparent. It is really horizontal field in that plane is this only. This much is, it is horizontal field in XY plane. It is horizontal field in XY plane. Okay. So that will be V dash H divided by BB. But I can write B dash H in terms of BH. How to write that? There I have to be careful now. I can write BH upon BV, okay, into cos theta. Cos theta. Wait a second. I should not call it theta. Whatever SC Verma is calling, why don't I use that only? What he calls this angle as cos delta. I think he's calling theta only. See here. But that is between geographic north and magnetic north. That is the different thing. That is represented by theta. This is any other angle. It could be any other. So I think no special name given for it because it is not a special angle. It is any other angle it could be. So I will just call it theta. Whatever we can call it, theta only. I'm calling it, or maybe phi. I will call it cos phi. Let us call it cos phi. That is tan delta dash, which further comes out to be equal to. Now we know tan delta dash can be written as tan delta into cos phi. Where what is cos phi here? Cos phi is the angle made by the plane of the dip circle. Phi is angle made by plane of dip circle with magnetic meridian. Now you tell me, you understanding this? This is a dip circle which is placed in xy plane. This is a dip circle is placed in xy plane, and this if dip circle is placed in magnetic meridian. Both are actually dip circles only. But right now, let us say I'm placing the dip circle not in magnetic meridian, but at an angle theta from the magnetic meridian. I'm placing the dip circle. Where I'm placing the dip circle at an angle theta from the magnetic meridian. So if I place the dip circle at an angle theta from the magnetic meridian, then not theta, sorry, phi, at phi angle from the magnetic meridian. Then because it is placed at an phi angle from the magnetic meridian, then apparent field here will become BH cos phi. Then apparent angle of dip here will become tan delta dash will become tan delta into cos phi. Is it okay? Okay. Hello. Yes. Okay. So tan delta dash is becoming tan delta into cos phi. What is phi here? Phi is angle between plane in which I am keeping the dip circle. Which plane of the dip circle? Dip circle is in vertical plane only. I told you before. If I call it compass, then it is horizontal. But if I call it dip circle, then it is like compass only, but it is in vertical. Okay. So now it is in vertical plane. That is a dip circle. Because we measure dip using this, so we call it dip circle. So angle made by the plane of dip circle with the magnetic meridian. So that is phi, and by that, if I know that phi angle, then I can determine the true angle of dip from that. But I should be knowing what is the phi angle first of all. Then I can determine by knowing apparent angle of dip also. There is another way now. What I will do, let us say I don't have knowledge of the magnetic meridian, and I want to find out what is the true angle of dip. I will take two readings. How will I take two readings? One reading I will take tan delta 1, and that I will call as tan delta into cos phi. That will be in xy plane. Another I will take in yz plane, and that I will call as again apparent only. Let us call it tan delta 2. To what we want to do now? We want to find true angle of dip. To find true angle of dip. How do we conduct the experiment to find true angle of dip? That is what I'm telling you now. Using dip circle only. To find true angle of dip using dip circle. What we will do, we will take the readings in two planes. In which plane? In one plane xy plane, and in another plane yz plane. In two planes, I will take the reading of the dip circle, and in one plane I will denote the angle of dip reading as tan delta 1. How do we take the reading? Means in dip circle there is a angles are represented here. Means it is like 0 degree angle. Above side we can call 90, below side we can call minus 90 something, or maybe this also I think same way we will say 90 above, 90 below. So this will be like 30 below, let us say, something like that. Means there will be angles given 10, 30, 50, 60, up to 90. So these angles will be there. So that will be given. And not only this dip circle is placed on a horizontal platform, and it is free to rotate about it, so that we can rotate it and keep it in any other plane. So while we rotate it, then we know here also angles are given, so that we can tell how much we have rotated. So how much we want to rotate? If we want to move from xy plane to yz plane, then we want to rotate the dip circle by 90 degree. Is it true or not? If you want to move it from xy plane to yz plane, then we want to rotate it by 90 degree angle. We can rotate it. Once we rotate it by 90 degree angle, let us say the new angle of reading is coming, that angle of dip reading is coming. This delta dash which I am representing here, this only I am calling as delta 1 now. For xy plane I am calling delta 1, and for yz plane I am calling it as delta 2. Tan delta 2 will be tan delta into what? Tell me now. What should I write here? Into what? Cos of 90 minus phi. This boy understood it. What is happening here? Very good. Cos of 90 minus phi it will become, because this BH makes phi angle with x-axis, then it will be making 90 degree minus phi with the z-axis. Then definitely that side it will be cos 90 minus phi. So what it will become then? It will become tan delta into sine phi. That is tan delta 2. So one equation, second equation. I want to eliminate sine phi and cos phi. And no, I want to eliminate sine phi, cos phi. I want to get tan delta here. Can I get that? Yes. How? Squaring and adding. Then we will be getting tan delta 1, tan square delta 1 plus tan square delta 2 is equal to tan square delta. We can get, I think, true angle of dip in this way. Let me see what formula HCV sir has given. He is giving cot square. Why have I done something wrong here? Wait a second, I have done something wrong, it seems. Tan delta. Oh, formula itself I have written wrong from the beginning
Delta
itself.
BV by B.
I have written wrong formula. Then this complete I have to change. From where I started? I started from the beginning. Here itself I took wrong only. BH. Oh, completely it went wrong then. Then these all tans are actually cots delta. Cot of delta is BH by BV. This is also cot of delta dash. Cot. This is not tan anywhere. This is all cot. Cot. And up to this it will be cot. So cot of delta 2 is equal to cot of delta, then cot square delta 1 plus cot square delta 2 is equal to cot square delta. That is correct at last. This is cot square. This is our relation. So this is our true angle of dip and found in terms of two apparent angle of dip. And how those apparent angle of dip we had found? We had found those apparent angle of dips by taking two readings of dip circle in two mutually perpendicular planes. How we have taken two readings in two mutually perpendicular planes? But let us say examiner wants to ask this question. He may not give you two mutually perpendicular planes. He may give like this: that one dip circle reading you have taken in one plane, another you have taken in another plane, but both planes are not mutually perpendicular. Although why should we do that if we want to really conduct this experiment? But this person, he may ask in this way. He may say one is in let us say we are taking along this axis, one axis and second axis. Okay, or maybe I can call it as x1 and x2 axis. This is x1 and this is x2. Y is same plane for both. So what I got once I got reading then delta 1, cot delta 1. Again I'm writing tan mistake. What will be cot of delta 1? Cot of delta 1 will be now, this is BH, let us say this is BH. Component of BH along x-axis, that will be along x1, that will be B1, and along x2 it will be B2. So what will be cot of delta 1? B1 will be apparent horizontal. So B1 is apparent horizontal divided by total B vertical. That I can write as BH into, let us say angle made here is phi1, and the other side it will be total angle between x1 and x2 is given to us. Let the total angle be given something as alpha. Then other side it will be alpha minus phi1. Then BH cos of phi1 divided by BV. Cot delta 2 will be equal to B2 divided by BV. That will be equal to BH cos phi 2 divided by BV. Right? Phi 2 will be equal to total alpha minus phi 2 is equal to alpha minus phi 1, and alpha is given to us. They are giving that in which planes we are taking reading. We are taking reading in two planes. One plane is x1y plane and another plane is x2y plane. And what is angle between these two planes? Angle between these two planes is given angle between two planes of dip circle where we are taking the reading. Once we are two planes of dip circle, I am saying, because we are taking reading in the dip circle. Angle between those two planes of dip circle where we are taking the reading is alpha. First plane in which we are taking reading, second plane where we are taking reading is this. So can you find out now also true angle of dip? Now it will be a little bit more difficult, but you should be able to find out. How to find out now? Think. I will give you one simple way. After that you do yourself. Can you determine B1 by using cot delta 1 which we have found and in terms of BV. I think we can write B1 in terms of BV, and that will be BV into cot delta 1. Cot delta 1. What is B2? B2 will be equal to BV into cot delta 2. Right or not?
Right.
What is BH in terms of B1 and B2? Question is, what is BH in terms of B1 and B2? Once we know BH in terms of B1 and B2, then we will get answer. How to do that? Your aim is to determine BH in terms of the angles and B1, B2. Your aim is to determine BH. And sorry, not in terms of angles. Angles we have to eliminate, I think. Phi 1, Phi 2 should not be there at last. Angles we have to eliminate. Alpha you can take in terms of angle alpha, total angle alpha, in terms of that. And in terms of B1, B2, we want to find out BH. Can you determine it? In terms of B1 and B2, you have to determine BH. Law of sines you can use. So many things you can do here. This angle is 90, this is 90. And we can say this angle is 90 minus phi 1. This is equal to 90 minus alpha minus phi 1. And we can write it as B1 upon sine 90 minus phi 1. B1 upon sine 90 minus phi 1, that is equal to BH upon sine phi 1. Sorry, BH is right. That's one. Another one we will be getting. Let me try this. B1 upon cos phi 1 is equal to PH. That is one equation we are having already. Another one is BH. All I want to do is eliminate phi 1, phi 2. Phi 1 only we have to eliminate. Alpha is known to us. We can eliminate phi. Can we? Only unknown in this case is phi only, phi 1 only. Phi 1 we can replace from here also. We can write it as b1 by h, and we can put it in this equation. We will be able to replace it. And after doing that, we are b1 can you get it? Also, alpha minus phi 1 is equal to d2. I think we can get it, but 1 minus b1 square by bh square under the root into sine alpha into cos alpha into b1 by bh into ph is equal to b2. So we are able to eliminate phi angle. Once we are able to eliminate the phi angle, then I think we can get from b1 and b2. We already know what is b1 and b2. b1 upon b vertical. b1 upon b vertical is cos delta 1, that we know. Is equal to 10 tan delta 1 or cot delta 1. Cot of delta 1. b2 upon bb is equal to cot of delta 2. Can we determine b1? We can write as bv cot delta 1. So we can write b1 is means we can replace b1 as bv cot delta 1, and we can replace b2 as bv cot delta 2. Then this we can this in this equation. In this equation, I think bh will also get cancelled out. Finally, no, it will not cancel. It will be bh square method. But bh is only a known in this, I think. Remaining all are knowns. Right or not? Except bh. No, bv. But no, bv is also known. Wait a second. Why? I think we can determine it. I think bv is also there, and we have to determine bv.
Sir, BV will get cancelled out, sir, in the final equation.
Is it getting cancelled out?
Yes, sir. Sir,
I think
BH equal to BV into cot delta.
bh also we can replace as bv into cot delta. That is better, I think. Then cot delta only. Then it is equation in terms of cot delta only. That is better. Yes, right. So we are replacing all this. b1 we are replacing as bv into cot delta, and bh we are replacing as bv into
B1
cot of
delta.
delta.
For B1 cot delta.
Then I think then now in
B1
this
square plus
equation
B2 square equal to BH square.
b1 square plus b2 square is not equal to bh square in this case. That is the main point. But this equation, the upper equation we have to use here. This upper equation we have to use, this one which we have written here. That is bv cot delta into cos bh cancels here. Let me cancel bh with bh cancels here. Bh means uncancelled. Bh square, this bh square cancelled here. Then we are left with b1 cos alpha. b1 cos alpha means bv cot of delta 1 cos of alpha plus other side it is becoming bv again, and cot square delta minus cot square delta 1 under the root into sine alpha whole into bv. This side also, other side also bv, and multiplied by cot of delta 2. That is the equation. Finally bv gets cancelled. This is the equation. In this equation, cot delta 1 is known, cot delta 1 known, cot delta 2 known. Cot delta is only unknown. Remain alpha, sine alpha known, cos alpha known, because alpha was given to you. So only unknown in this is cot delta, and we are getting that cot delta by solving it. Means it may take little time to solve it also, but it is not like we cannot get it. Cot square delta minus cot square delta 1 into sine square alpha, if I square it up, is equal to other side Other side we will be taking all other terms, remaining terms. Those remaining terms other side we will be carrying, and we will be getting cot of delta 2 minus cot of delta 1 into cos alpha whole square. That is what we are writing here. Then we can write it as cot delta 2 minus cot delta 1 into cos alpha whole square divided by sin square alpha plus cot square delta 1 is equal to cot square delta. Getting or not? That is only. But see, I mean, this is not the standard way, obviously, but the questions can be asked. Standard way is when they are mutually perpendicular. Mutually perpendicular means when alpha is 90 degree. If alpha is 90, then what formula we get from here also again? Let us put alpha back as 90 degree. Then sin 90 will become 1. Then we are getting cot square delta plus cot square. Again, same formula only. Same again. Okay. Right or not?
Yes, sir.
By putting alpha 90, we are getting back same again. But sometimes they may ask such question that if dip circle is in one plane, this is the angle. If dip circle is in another plane, which is at an angle of the other plane is at an angle of alpha from the first plane. The other plane where we are finding the reading, that is at an angle of alpha from the first plane. And then what is the effective true angle of dip? So that way they can ask, and we can answer it in this way if they ask such questions. One important thing here is that I have not defined till now. Let me define it now. Angle of declination. Angle of declination. That is represented by SC Verma by theta. That is angle between. Magnetic meridian and geographic meridian. This angle varies from place to place. This angle varies from place to place. And it is useful in navigation. It is useful in navigation. Why is it useful in navigation? I told you, I want to go to east. That is, I want to go to east. How can I go to east? I know one thing, that if I have north-south direction known to me, then east will be perpendicularly, and when I'm facing towards north, east will come towards my right side. I can find out east if I know north and south. But unfortunately, I don't know geography north and geography south. I know only magnetic north and magnetic south. Let's say this is magnetic north, magnetic south, something like this. And I still want to get out the direction of east, then I will find out what is the angle of declination in that place. If angle of declination theta is given to me, then I can tell that where the geographic north is located as compared to the geographic this magnetic north. Where it is located as compared to that.
11.5 degrees.
No, completely wrong. I said, I told no only. And what are you saying? In fact, it is navigation. It varies from place. It is not. That is, you are not finding angle between meridian. You are finding angle between the axis. That is fixed angle. Angle between axis cannot change. That is 11.5. But angle between meridian will change from place to place. Oh, okay. Let us look back at that diagram only.
Sir, time up.
Let us look back at that diagram. At least that diagram is once. After that, you say time up. Is there any meridian which is common to geographic as well as magnetic?
Yes, sir.
Any meridian? Can you see that
Yes,
meridian
sir.
or not? So that common
Yes,
meridian in which both axes lie, in that meridian, what will be the angle of declination? In that meridian, angle of declination will be 0.
Yes,
In that meridian, angle of declination will be 0 degree. Will it be 0 or not? Because both meridian are in the same place only. Then angle of declination will become 0. But some other angles will be, some other places, if I see, then there will be different. Locally, if I have to find out what is angle between magnetic meridian and magnetic geographic meridian, that will be the angle between magnetic longitudes and geographic longitude. If I have drawn two longitudes, then angle between those two longitudes will be the corresponding angle between the angle of declination. Let me draw that diagram here somewhere. Just see that diagram. After that, we can leave the class, no problem. I can end the class afterwards. Let's say this is the. Let me draw the diagram. A realistic diagram. This is sphere, and in that there are several longitudes. These are geographic longitudes, and now let there be magnetic longitudes also, and those are starting like this. Notice these red color lines, these are the magnetic ones, and the geographic ones are here. And notice the angle between these red color lines in every place. These are changing from place to place or not. Here it is different angle. Here it is one angle. Here it is another angle. Here, so these are changing from place to place. So this is not fixed. So angle of declination will be locally it will be known. And if I know locally that it is in which place, let us say somebody has given me angle of declination as 30 degree, then I will know that my magnetic needle is pointing in this direction, but I don't have to go in that direction if I want to go north. Then I will have to take 30-degree turn from that, and I have to go, then I will be going towards north. So that will help me. Knowledge of angle of declination in a given place will help me to move in the real direction. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That is why it is helpful for us. So this much you need to know about angle of declination. Remaining tangent galvanometer is, I think, not in syllabus. No need to waste time. Moving coil galvanometer we have done already, so no need to waste time. Tangent law not required again. I think deflection magnetometer, I think this is also not required. I think so. This we don't need. Application of deflection, these we don't need. Oscillation magnetometer we don't need. These all we don't need. The determination of M and BH, no, we don't need any of these. Tangent, let me see once. Maybe tangent is there or not. Let me check once that one.
Tangent law.
Although if you want to read through these, then it will not be bad, because sometimes paragraph passage based questions can be asked based on these also. They will give some passage, explain a little bit, and they will but right now, first things first. So I will first recommend you to do only that much which I have given you. So you have to do some questions based on this. Leave the question of tangent and magnet or this other type of questions you have to leave. But you have to do some question only. Selective
And
questions.
neutral point.
Neutral point you can find out, I think so, where the net field is 0. Neutral point you can find out this way. Sometimes they may give us net magnetic field of Earth is this, and a magnetic axis, some magnetic dipole is kept somewhere. So where the neutral point will be obtained, how many neutral points will be obtained. If you know how to draw the magnetic field lines, then you can answer such questions very easily. Do you know how to draw the magnetic field lines? If you know how to draw the magnetic field lines of a magnet, then you can answer such questions in an easy way. Let me tell you how these questions will be asked, neutral point based questions. Let us say in this place, due to Earth, the magnetic field is in this direction. Let's say this is the direction of magnetic field due to Earth. And let us say we have a bar magnet kept here. Somewhere kept here, red, this red color is the bar magnet. And from here I want to draw the magnetic field lines. So how the magnetic field lines will be? The magnetic field lines will be, let us say, like this. Now, can you tell me where can the neutral point lie? Where can the neutral point lie? First of all, the neutral point will be lying only if the magnetic field is only horizontal and our needle is also horizontal. Means this magnet and the magnetic field must be in the same direction. They must be in the same direction. Is it right or not? Hello?
Yes, sir.
They must be in the same plane. Otherwise, they cannot cancel each other. Net magnetic field will cancel the magnetic field of the bar magnet if those are lying in the same plane. Then they can cancel, and they should be 180 degree opposite. So now here I have to look at some point where it is 180 degree opposite. Let me try where it could be. Actually, they don't give like this. I am giving you more complicated case. They usually give either 180 degree angle. They give something like this. Wait a second. Let me make a realistic diagram, which they give normally. They will give something like this. Either it will be in this way, or it will be in the line of blue lines. Then we can tell easily. If it is in the form of blue lines, then this is North Pole, this is South Pole. Then magnetic field lines are coming here, 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 here. And the external field lines here, notice here this can cancel because it is vertically down, and that can be not vertically, means it is down and this is up. This can cancel each other here. Blue lines can cancel this way. How the black lines can cancel? The black lines are like this. So black lines can cancel in equatorial position, and the blue lines can cancel in not equal to 12, but some other position length can cancel. Understood or not?
No.
Yes, sir.
So such kind of question can be asked. So if you know how to find out the net magnetic field in a given location, and you know how to, then this net magnetic field should be equal to the Earth's magnetic field, and their direction should be equal and opposite. Then that will be forming a neutral point. These neutral points can be found because of two magnetic dipoles also, I think. So if I take one magnetic dipole, another magnetic dipole, and their magnetic fields are cancelling in between, then that also will give us neutral point. Means mainly we have to just cancel the fields. That will provide us a neutral point. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So as of now, today you do this much only, but this is also, we have only done one chapter also. That also some questions are not done. In fact, questions you have to do yourself only somewhat here. Which questions you can do? Let me see some questions. Question number 1, you can do 2, you can do 3, you can do 4, you can do 5, you can do 6, you can do 7, you can do 8th can be done. I think 9th can be done. 10th can be done. 11th can be done. 12th can be done. 13th. Up to 14. 14 is, I think, tangent galvanometer. No, 14 is moving coil. 13 is tangent. Up to 12, I think you can do all. Up to 12 from the solved examples, you can do all. Remaining, you don't have to do. Up to 12. Okay. Next. In objectives also, you try, you can do, I think, up to 13, except 11, 12. Except 11, 12, I think remaining you can do, I think so. In objective 1. You can see, I think you can understand, you can find out yourself. Means you try to do, maximum questions are based on the syllabus only. Few questions will be there out of syllabus that you don't have to do. Deflection magnetometer, etc. These you don't have to do here. Deflection magnetometer. Magnetometer not done. Not. Leave these here. Okay, up to magnetic, up to 14 you do, okay, up to 14 or up to 15. Up to 15 in the, write it down somewhere, up to 15 in the exercise. And objective 1 and objective 2, excluding the questions which you can see, these questions you can exclude, 11 and 12 of objective 1. In objective 2 also you can find out which to exclude. And in solved examples, you have to do up to 12. In solved examples, we have to do up to 12, I decided, or yes, 12 only, I think, yes. Okay, these you attempt today. Tomorrow I will be taking next chapter. Next chapter is magnetic properties of matter. This I will explain a little bit, and then I want to go to optical instruments. There are 3 chapters to be done, so please try to finish it today only. Okay.